Breaking Trump preps military for war after Russia just threatened apocalypse on North Korea. Tensions between North Korea and the United States have been steadily rising for the past year, but with South Korea, Japan, China, and now most recently Russia coming into the mix, things may be far more complicated than Trump had initially anticipated. As President Trump and Mad Dog Mattis have continued to solidify our positions in the Korean Peninsula, Russian military officials have grown angry at what they claim is an overreach of our power. The U.S. military has been running numerous joint drills with South Korea and Japan, in an attempt to prepare for any sort of nuclear attack which North Korea may launch. Apparently Russian diplomats think it's unfair that we're defending our own interests, and have just threatened an apocalyptic situation in the Korean Peninsula. TASS, a Russian news agency which Drudge Report has linked to, reports, Seoul, November 27, /TASS/ An apocalyptic scenario of developments on the Korean Peninsula is possible, but Russia hopes that a common sense would prevail among the involved parties, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Igor Morgulov said on Monday. A scenario of the apocalyptic development of the situation on the Korean Peninsula exists and we cannot turn our blind eye to it, Morgulov said speaking at the opening of the 8th Annual Asian Conference of the Valdai Discussion Club in Seoul. I hope that a common sense, pragmatism and an instinct of self-preservation would prevail among our partners to exclude such negative scenario, the Russian diplomat said. Tensions on the Korean Peninsula remain high as North Korea actively develops its nuclear and missile programs, while the U.S. and its allies in the region carry out their military maneuvers. On September 3, Pyongyang announced a successful hydrogen bomb test. The UN Security Council stepped up sanctions against North Korea. We have told North Korea many times that for us, its nuclear status is unacceptable, the diplomat said. We continue this work with the North Korean counterparts, presenting to them our position. Moscow is actively working with Pyongyang to ensure North Korea's unilateral moratorium on missile and nuclear tests continue as long as possible, he said. We greatly value that North Korea preserves the regime of silence for 2 months already, and Russia actively works to make sure that the current regime continues as long as possible, Morgulov said. Moscow negatively assessed joint military drills of the United States with its allies in the region of the Korean Peninsula, while North Korea keeps a 2-month pause in missile and nuclear tests, he went on. Considering the 2-month-long period of silence, the United States is not planning to reduce the scale of its regular military exercises, but also plan holding sudden drills as well, Morgulov said. Unfortunately, this is the answer, which North Korea gets in response to its 2-month silence, the Russian diplomat said, adding that Moscow assesses it negatively. I believe that both the North Korean nuclear tests and joint military drills of the United States with its allies are definitely of a negative nature, Morgulov said. Russia has presented the roadmap's contents both to the US and to the DPRK, the diplomat said. I would like to say that at the very entrance the plan has not been rejected either by Washington or by Pyongyang, though still no answer. Besides, we have spoken for discussing certain elements of this plan separately with the US and with North Korea, he continued. We have begun the work, but I have to say regretfully that the actions, which Washington undertook in October to November, I mean the unplanned drills, affect greatly our dialogue on settlement on the basis of the roadmap. Is it possible for someone to cherish illusions that threats from U.S. President Donald Trump to strike with fire and fury will be able to cut the knot, which has been tight on the Korean Peninsula for many decades? Morgulov said. I believe it would be naive to hope that any of the sides would give in to the pressure, the Russian diplomat said. We must understand that the pressure borders with a deliberate push of North Korea to the humanitarian catastrophe, Morgulov said. This will not result in the North Korean authorities giving up missile and nuclear programs, but on the contrary, will only strengthen its intentions to stay until the very end. I believe that the path of pressure has no perspectives and there is no other alternative to the dialogue, the Russian diplomat said. The resumption of inter-Korean dialogue could have a positive effect on the conflict settlement, Morgulov said. These two countries have issues to discuss, and I know that our South Korean partners are ready for such dialogue and repeatedly expressed interest in its initiation, the Russian diplomat said. If Pyongyang's demonstrated restraint over the past 2 months was met with similar reciprocal steps on behalf of the United States and its allies, then we could have moved to the start of direct talks between the United States and North Korea, Morgulov said. Will it be possible? I am absolutely sure that it is possible, the Russian diplomat said. The key agenda of such talks can be very simple, which is the principles of peaceful coexistence. I believe that the lack of such concord gives roots to hostility and mutual mistrust among the involved parties. The United States and its allies should at least reduce the scale of their regular military exercises they are holding in the region of the Korean Peninsula, Morgulov said.